used to surprise me that how can we be so hypocritical, and especially our leaders who have been elected by us, they can be so hypocritical that they can just try to whitewash something that is so blatantly in our faces. What forces them, what encourages them, or what prompts them to be so hypocritical in their approach? Of course, we know that they are no angels. The politicians are no angels, but as far as the Islamic narrative is concerned, I can imagine a democracy in which majority of the voters are Muslims. There, if such statements are made, it can be understood that the person is trying to get maximum votes from his Muslim voters. But if it is happening in India, where how much, maybe 15%, 16% are Muslim population, and still our state leaders are hypocritic and they are claiming that it is a religion of peace. In Europe, Tony Blair is saying it's a religion of peace. Barack Obama is saying it's a religion of peace. This hypocrisy needs to be addressed if we intend to dismantle this jihadi network. Because the network, when we talk of network, we think of the infrastructure that is in place over there. But before we dismantle that, I think the network that has been hardwired into our brains needs to be dismantled. What has been done is very systematically, the left has taken over the academia. They've infiltrated, they've penetrated into the education system, whether it is school level system, college level, or higher level education. They've penetrated everywhere, and they have been acting as an intellectual shield, an intellectual cover of Islamic Jihad. That is why when our kids are coming out of these academic institutions, they are not at all familiar with the civilizational struggle that is going on, which is in fact on the brink of existential crisis for us. That is why I shared my own anecdote, that my mindset was so that I did not even stop to ponder how can somebody be so much inspired to take his or her own life? What kind of ideology can it be? It has to be something of a very high order, some very high inspiration has to be behind it. And but after 10 years, when I started reading the Islamic literature, I was shocked that how can any sane person believe in this and he can wage a jihad on innocent human beings. So now what can be done or what should be done over here? I think this hypocrisy which is surrounding us, whether it is from our political class, whether it is from our education system, whether it is from our pop culture. If we are serious enough of thinking about dismantling it, then there can be different layers about it. One is about state policies. Forget the Islamic countries. Can we have a state policy and a stated state policy that we will have zero tolerance for terrorism or zero tolerance for terror? Yes, Americans say that they have it. It sounds very masculine also, it sounds very muscular. But the problem is that they shy away from defining what is terrorism. So unless you define it, how can you fight it? How can you say we have a zero tolerance policy for it? That brings us to the second point. If you're not defining terrorism, then how are we going to identify the source of the terrorist's mindset? He is deriving that inspiration from an ideology. If we are not going to address that ideology, that means we're going to fail our objective. So zero tolerance for terrorism should mean we have defined terrorism, we have defined who is a terrorist, and then we are supposed to address the source of the terror. And once we can identify the source of this terror, then we can proactively try to defang any future terrorists from taking place. And now how can this be done? I think it should be simple enough. What the leftist and Islamist handshake has done is they have hidden the true face of Islam from us. What a state needs to do is bring the basic tenets of Islam into public domain. Let there be a discussion. It can be done through the education system. It can be done through documentaries. I remember Robert Spencer has created a very good documentary. We should be having hundreds of such documentaries addressing or explicitly stating the contents of Islam, the contents of Quran, the Hadith, the life of the Prophet. These all should be brought into public domain. And let us have a fair debate. Let the people decide that if it is something very good, let us all of us embrace it. And if it is a global scourge as we are looking at it today, then let us bring those people back who can be in future mobilized or brainwashed into acting as future terrorists. It's not a very tough ask. Any state can do it because they have those resources at their disposal. Obviously, the condition is that they have to come out of this hypocrisy, which is right now prevalent, that everything is peaceful, all the religions are same, and Islam is a religion of peace. Secondly, the times we are living in, I think this is the right time. It is the right time to declare Pakistan and Afghanistan rogue countries or terrorist countries. This might sound a little harsh, but I think right now what we are looking at is they are displaying their ideology in all its glory. So I would request the states that these two countries, at least these two countries, should be declared terrorist countries, and then they should be dealt accordingly. Now, that is as far as the state is concerned. Now, what about individuals? When 9/11 happened, I was telling you about my mindset. I was just thinking about earning more amount of money, investing more in stock market, getting a bigger and longer car for myself, which are the standard aspirations of any middle class individual. I was thinking of having a life insurance policy for myself so that I can have a secure future. Then I went a little back 12 years prior to 2011. What happened in Kashmir? The Kashmiri Hindu population must also have had the same sort of aspirations. They also must have thought about investing something for their future in insurance schemes, in bank deposits, and all those things which we think about. But all those investments came to naught because they were not looking at the major threat which was facing them in the face. They were, since I've been interacting with these people who've been forced out of Kashmir, they say that we had a very little apprehension that such an exodus could be enforced upon us. So we were going about our daily lives. Of course, they used to hear incidents of a murder here, a rape there, but they were not unduly concerned. They went about their lives. And this is what we now should be thinking of, that we cannot keep on going with our lives as if nothing is happening, as if nothing is going to happen. Because if 30 years ago it was happening to Kashmiris, it can happen to anybody. So as individuals, we have our own duty to perform. We have to learn the basic tenets of Islam. We have to teach them to our family members and try to disseminate this information as far and wide as possible. And if individually it cannot be done, let us make a group of 4 or 5 individuals, 10 individuals. Let us have small organizations which can work on it. What I think is that since a major component of this battle is at an ideological level, so the reply should also be ideological. Now, the second factor is communism. We know that communism is a failed experiment the world over. We know the number of lives it has taken. We have examples of Russia, we have examples of Mao, we have examples of the entire Maoist corridor, which is right now present in our country. And see what has happened. Today, Nazism is a bad word. Fascism is a bad word, but communism is not. Why? Although the number of individuals which have been killed by communists is far more than what has been killed by Nazis or what has been killed by fascists. But the success of communists is that they have hidden all those aspects from public discourse. An example that I would like to bring is, try to imagine a group of 20-30 people holding a Nazi flag in their hands and saying that we are going to create a Nazi party, that we're going to have a Nazi party and please vote for us. I'm sure people will just beat them black and blue and they will have to run away from that place. But the same is not happening with communism, because the dark aspect of communism has been hidden from public view. So let us bring the darker secrets of communism in public domain, so that the sword of Islam and the shield of communism both can be exposed, and we can make world a safer place